Supports. Supports are needed when you are going to 3D print something. Well, calibration cube, a benchy, they don't really need to have any supports because they are pretty simple. But when it comes to something like this, supports are needed or else your print will fail. Sometimes you can get away with it and you will see some hanging printed lines, and that is looking not so awesome and also not so pretty. And basically, one thing that I always say, you cannot print something in mid-air. So for that reason, you need to have supports. Where to place them? So that is one question that is very common when it comes to 3D printing. You have different kind of slices. My choices that I really like to use quite a lot are Cura and Prusa. And so also for that reason, I'm going to focus this tutorial about supports on Cura and Prusa Slicer. In Cura, once you have imported your model that you want to 3D print, Cura already detects at which kind of points supports are going to be needed. If you want to know at which degree it's going to be needed, you will have to look in the support tab. There you will find also the degree where the supports are going to be needed. Most of the time this is automatically set on 45-degree angle. So keep that in mind if you are going to slice your model. As mentioned, there are two different kind of types you can find in Cura to use as supports. Besides the non-supports, that's also a possibility. You have touching the build plate, so that means everything that is going to touch the build plate, like this. These are the legs of Neo from the Matrix. So this is going to touch the build plate, besides this little plastic connector piece. So this was on the build plate. So this leg was going to touch the build plate. So now we have a little reference what it does mean if touching the build plate. Sometimes it happens that supports are going to be needed on the model as well. This little statue has some overhangs here. So this part you cannot print without support. It's nearly impossible. Or you get a failed print or a not nice looking model. So on that place you are going to need supports. So in Cura you can choose for touching the build plate or everywhere. That means that on the build plate you have supports, but also on the model itself. And sometimes it doesn't look that nice. So to overcome that, you can use something called 3 supports. So here I have a model where I used 3 supports. And as you can see, it's around the model and not touching the model itself, but only on the places where support is needed. So if you are going to remove it, it's pretty simple to do that. So this was printed on the Easy Treat X1, so the quality isn't that great, but the basic thing of 3 support is that it is printed around the model, but not actually touching the model itself. Just maybe a little bit so that the 3 has some support, but as you can see, you are going to unwrap it from the model. So that is a cool thing about 3 supports. So, and then we have also paint on supports. Like this model, I didn't need that much support. So should I use touching the build plate? No. Should I touch everywhere? Why should I? So because this is printed in 2 different kind of pieces, this model was printed like that. So I only need to add supports here and only here on this part. That is it. And then you start your print. And then you only need to remove the supports that is only on that place, not everywhere. So let's get into the slices and I'll show you how to do that. In Cura we are going to select the printer that we want. In this case, I'm going to use the Easy Treat X1, a very low budget 3D printer, but it will do its job. Then I'm going to select the model, Luke Skywalker. It's a very easy thing to 3D print in a very short amount of time. Of course, the model is a whole lot bigger than our printer, so we are going to scale it down, let's say like 95. So we are going to put it on the build plate. So this looks very nice. So here can you see as a reference how the model should look like. So, and here you will see everywhere where it is red, where supports are going to be needed in order to succeed with this print. So now we are going to scroll almost all the way down. Infill 20%, that is what we want. Material temperature 205, and for the bed is nothing because the Easy Treat doesn't have a heated bed. The print speed 40 millimeters, that is for my 3D printer, is needed. Supports, we are going to select the normal and with support everywhere. Support overhang angle in this case is 50, but you can also change it to 45. And if you are going to check the model now, you see that more places are red highlighted. So there is where the support is going. Support density 15%. Support horizontal expansion. There are some settings where you can play with if you don't like the support structure. So let's slice it. Let's check preview and see where the supports are going to be placed. So everything in light blue is where supports are going to be printed. So let's put it on the SD card and continue with the tutorial. Now instead of support structure normal, we are going to select support structure 3. The support placement is the same as the other one. We are going to place it everywhere, and the support overhang angle is 45 degrees. So we are going to slice it. Once the slicing is done, you can see exactly as the previous one where the supports are going to be. So the slicing is done. Now if you are looking in the preview, you will see this kind of structure. Support is everywhere, but it's not touching the model itself, at least not on the points where there is no support needed. So, and this is the result from the 3 support. It's around the model and only supporting the places where the support is needed, and not really touching the model itself. Let's put it on the SD card and let's print it. Slicer, I've selected the Prusa Mini to do the paint on supports on the Cura from Londor bust. We only focus on this part of the model, so this one is not needed. So we make sure that we select this one. In order to use the paint on supports correctly, you have to select by the supports. You have to select for support enforcers only. Click on yes. And now we are going to click on the icon paint on supports. So now you see that this model is gray and the other one is away. So that is what we want. So turn the plate a little bit, move it so that you can go under here, and just in one stroke you take the first part of the helmet, then you turn it a little bit more so that you have a good angle at it. You take this part, turn it a little bit around here on this side, on this chin as well. something like that. Then we click on Slice Now. The model is still yellow, so it means it's still busy. Now it's turned into orange, so that means that it is an OK. And here is in green your support structure. And if you are looking very carefully, you see that there is a difference between support material and support material interface. So meaning that there is something printed between the support and the actual print, making sure it is easy to remove. So and then we are going to put it on the SD card, and then we are going to print it on the Prusa Mini. I have supports everywhere. So I have supports here, I have supports here, and also on the back. So let's start the removal. Yeah, if you want to, if possible, try to use the model as reference so that you know what is support and what is not support. For this support removal, I like to use a side cutter. Usually you will get them when you buy a 3D printer. Those are always very handy. Normally supports are always thinner than the actual model, so it is easier to get that removed. So take it with the side cutter and then roll it a little bit so that it is like a can of sardines where you are pulling the lid from the tin can away. Little reminder, Luke Skywalker has also a nose. Don't cut it away. So I think that this is looking very nice, decent for the thing that I did, even though it was supports everywhere. The face turned out pretty well. Little reminder, this is printed on the Easy Treat X1. It's a smaller 3D printer, and also the model is scaled down a little bit so that it will fit the build plate. That is going about the idea when you are going to print this model. So in this case, the support intervened with the surface of the coat, so you have to be careful with removing that you don't damage the coat or the hoodie. Is he wearing a hoodie? So I think that this is so far so good. This is something like 10 centimeters high or 100 millimeters. So it took me a little over the 20 minutes to remove all supports. So now we are going to take the next one, the one with the 3 supports. So this is exactly the same model, the same height, but in this case I used 3 supports. Is this easier to remove or is it harder to remove? Also here the setting was everywhere, so on all places where by the previous one the supports were everywhere, also here it's going to be supported everywhere, but with the 3 structure. So let's go to remove that. I hope you're ready. "30 seconds. 3 support everywhere, and just like a code, everything is now removed and it is looking very nice." Little comparison between the 2 models. This one supports everywhere and just a normal support structure, and this one printed with the support structure, 3 support structure everywhere. 20 minutes, less than a minute. Now we are going to look for the paint on supports. The paint on supports that is done in Prusa Slicer. I think in Cura you have the same kind of function, but I like to use the Prusa Slicer more than Cura Slicer. So this is Uria from London, and as you can see this was printed on the Prusa Mini like this. Of course this has no support structure needed, but here on this model I put the supports right here by the helmet and also on this part. So let's remove the supports. There was one. Here's some supports as well. Just like the other one, just start in the middle and then remove the bottom part and the upper part. So I'm going to show you the support structure. As you can see right here, right here you have a little mesh that makes sure that when you are going to remove it, the support, the thing that was going to be supported is that the part that needs to be supported is looking very nice. So, and this one is also done with support removal, and it is looking very nice and very shiny. So as you can see, support removal from the supports that I use in Cura, you have 2 different kinds that I always use. In this case I use the Easy Treat X1 to show that even if you have a very cheap budget 3D printer, that support removal is doable and possible. So I hope that this video or this tutorial helped you quite a lot in choosing which kind of support you are going to need it and also how to remove it. If you liked the video, please like this video and also share it with other people. Thank you. This video is supported by these awesome Patreon supporters: Lawyer Moses, The Lightspeed, Victim Dude and Carl Fenton. Thank you guys for your awesome support every single time. You can also support this channel by checking the Patreon link in the description of this video and becoming a Patreon of this YouTube channel. If you're still watching this video, thank you, you are amazing. On the end card there are some recommended videos worth watching. And while you're there, check out the merch in the merch store. Did you know that I'm also doing live streams on Twitch? Follow me on twitch.tv/Zachary3D Please like this video, share this video with other people and on social media, and hey, let's make awesome things with 3D printing. Zachary 3D Prints. Bye bye.